How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sundays, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Bayley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern, Sundays with Andrew Zarian. And it is Tuesday here on the show. You know what that means? We got plenty to talk about here today. NXT tonight, first night of a 2-week spring break-in series. And we have a beach brawl tonight, which I'm hoping actually spills out onto the beach. So I'll tell you about that. We've also got a lot of other news as well. Dynamite is tomorrow. Still only one match announced for the show, which is odd because they don't have a lot of tickets out for that show. I would think they would have announced more by now, but they have not. But we'll give you the one match for the show. And also talk about all of the other news. Cameron Grimes, no longer with WWE. They've been doing cuts. He is the latest. And I'll tell you my thoughts. That's another one. Very surprised about. But we can get into that more. Because we have some other details about some of the other cuts as well, which I find to be very odd. Dominic Mysterio is injured. I'll tell you about that. King of the Ring is coming up. And interestingly enough, you know, they have got a PLE coming up. But they are already building to the next PLE after the one that they have coming up here. And interestingly enough, the second one is not head-to-head with AEW, but it is the same weekend as Double or Nothing. So it's going to be a very, very busy weekend. We got updates on Finn Balor and the Raw streak of sellouts, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Well, Raw and SmackDown. And ratings. And I got a very interesting thing to say about the ratings. And then, of course, we got the full Raw report. Lots to talk about on Raw. There is a new WWE Women's Champion. It is Becky Lynch. So a lot to talk about here today. Back in a moment to kick it off, Observer Live.
A lot of people had asked me, what's it going to feel like if you can beat the Tribal Chief, if you can beat Roman Reigns? And I really was honest when I said I don't know. I don't know. I've never been in the end zone before. You know, I've been 1B. I've main evented shows. I've been able to be in the main event, but there's a difference between being in the main event and being the main event. Roman Reigns, obviously, he and I are not good friends, but that's the greatest championship reign in sports and entertainment. And as much as I don't agree with his style and the way he went about being a champion, perhaps, I still hope I can be half the champion that he was for WWE as a leader, as the quarterback. In the moment, I was so happy just to see my friends. You don't have a lot of friends in wrestling, you know, then you do, and they turn on you. And you know, Kevin Owens is a huge part of my journey. I wouldn't have been able to meet the guys I met that I needed to meet and do the things that we would do without him. Sammy was a huge part of my journey last year with the kind of budding rivalry between us heading towards, you know, WrestleMania, and him having that opportunity at Elimination Chamber to see him. I didn't think I would see Randy just because he'd probably get on his bus. You know, he's Randy. So to have the guy who took me under his wing and I got to watch be a champion, that was amazing. I drove Cena around for almost 2 years. Learned everything I possibly could from him, but didn't know I was learning because we were just having such a good time. And there's nobody who carried WWE, you know, until Roman, like John Cena, and for him to be out there, my family, LA Knight, just a lot of victims of the bloodline in a sense. There was that I think more than anything, just circling back to what you asked, I think that was just the joy. You know, there's a respect for Roman and the bloodline, no doubt, but nothing is bigger than the company, than the industry itself. And this was a win for the people, and certainly a win for me.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. Yes, he is back here today. He has returned. And,
I have.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Hey, listen, I'm going to start off with this. Unusual, perhaps. But, you know, I am a man of honesty. I'm a man who is about what's best for business. Unlike some people who claim they're all about what's best for business, but they're not. I actually am. I am all about what's best for business. And what is best for business is that I quickly note that if you go to f4wonline.com/Vegas, we got tickets available for all sorts of great stuff. You know, we got a steak, all you can eat all you can steak dinner at Texas Day Brazil. We got a sweet party, annual brunch at the Wicked Spoon, and the Bryan and Vinny What Happens in Vegas live event that you can only see and hear if you are there. It's not going to end up on the website afterwards. It's top secret what happens there in Vegas. Maybe we'll take a field trip to Area 51. I mean, who knows what fun you might have. But grab your tickets now before they're gone. Bryan and Vinny, What Happens in Vegas, f4wonline.com/Vegas. And also on the front page, we have sold a ton of tickets for the Bryan and Dave live Q&A over All In Weekend on the historic Tattershall Castle steamship, August 25th, 11 a.m. if you're planning to go to Wembley. And tickets are going fast, and this is just the pre-sale. I don't think actually, I think maybe today is the day that they go on sale to the public. But there's a link up on the front page of WrestlingObserver.com and my Twitter. I would head up there and grab tickets now if you want them, because it's on a boat, dude. There's limited capacity. There's only so many life jackets. So get on there, grab your tickets to the Bryan and Vinny live show or the Dave and Bryan Q&A. A lot of fun stuff coming up if you go to Double or Nothing or Wembley. And we'll have some more fun announcements coming up soon as well. But anyway, that wasn't what I was going to start with.
Oh, yeah?
I was going to start with what's best for business.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm a man who's fair, and I will tell you what's best for business, even if what's best for business is not best for me.
Oh,
so,
okay.
First off, what's best for business is, can AEW announce some matches for Wednesday already? I mean, well, what is taking so long?
Maybe some medical reports need to come back.
The show is tomorrow. They've literally announced nothing except Jon Moxley and Powerhouse Hobbs for the IWGP title. As of a week ago, there were only 1,400 tickets sold.
Ooh.
Like, are we trying to sell tickets or are we not? Because if we are, they're not even announcing Chris Jericho will speak or Hook will eat chips, whatever. It's like nothing. Like, announce something so, people in the area, they might know who might be there. Who should we go see? Like, what's going on?
And you have a big enough roster where even if you have something that, you're not sure about if it's going to tie into TV or not, you could have completely separate people out there with a big enough name with a dark match that you can advertise just for those people there. I don't know. That's how they go about doing things. Apparently, that's what works for them since they don't do it on a consistent basis. So I don't understand it. But then again, I didn't understand it with WWE. I don't know if this really matters for their ticket sales, the way things are going right now. I just think all of these companies really do, in my mind, rely on the internet and rely on social media for a lot, really way too much, and they save things till the day of, which is just still not something that I think is a great idea.
They didn't even shoot angles of the press conference. And, I had people arguing with me that, well, they never announced anything before, after a paper. I've been to press conferences. They bring people out. They shoot angles in character to set up matches. I've seen it with my own eyes. Nothing. They did nothing.
Like booking.
Now, this is what I was actually going to talk about.
Okay.
What is best for business.
Best for business.
Even though it is not necessarily in my best interests.
Maybe not in your best interest.
Okay. So we got the ratings from this weekend, and the Collision show did 461,000 viewers and a .13. And the Rampage show, which was immediately afterwards, did also a .13 in 18 to 49 and 397,000 viewers. So Rampage had the third largest audience the show's done in 2024. Rampage also did the fourth highest 18 to 49 that they have done this entire year. And last week, we had Collision followed by Battle of the Belts. I thought, my God, Battle of the Belts is going to die. It's absolutely going to die. And it didn't. It did well. And I can't believe I am saying this. I don't want this personally. But honest to God, as they're negotiating this next television deal, I believe what may be best for their business is cancel Rampage on Fridays and do a Saturday 3-hour block. I think that is, in fact, like you can do, if you wanted to, you could do 2 hours of Collision, an hour of Rampage. I would just do a 3-hour Collision on Saturday nights. I mean, we've now seen it. It's not like a one-time thing. When you take Rampage off Fridays, or when you follow Collision with Battle of the Belts, either we've seen it now 2 weeks in a row. The Battle of the Belts did well. They kept almost the entire Collision audience. Rampage kept the entire demo over 3 hours. I mean, yeah, there are going to be some weeks where there's a WWE PLE and they get killed. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, it's better doing it this way. And listen, I don't want it either. But I'm just looking at, why do they talk about selling tickets? Why? Because you know what? The place got to stay in business, okay? That's just it. I know the cons have a lot of money, but they get a bad television deal, that ain't good, okay? They need a strong television deal, no matter how much money they've got. They need to be selling tickets for their events, get this thing going. And I think, obviously the two ways to do it are advertise your damn matches for your show so people know what's coming. And what's the best situation with television? If they're negotiating for 5 hours of television, 2 hours on Wednesday, hour on Friday, and 2 hours on Saturday. Well, looking at what we have seen and the numbers that Rampage has been doing on Friday night, which were atrocious last week, under 300,000 last week. I mean, the fact is, if you're negotiating for 5 hours, it's 2 hours Wednesday and 3 hours Saturday. That's it.
I think we talked about it on here. Brandon Thurston theorized this a while ago, and makes sense. Look, you want to maximize whatever. Look, they're going to make a lot of money out of a TV deal no matter what it is. They're going to make a fine deal of money, but they could make more if they're performing well, and if this is what TNT and TBS want them to do, which frees up a night for them. Again, you can put a third hour, probably should be on Collision. That way it takes all of Saturday night. They can theme, all of Saturday night there until they have playoffs or, some other real sport takes its place. I think that's probably the best idea. And, how it is long term, I don't know, but Rampage is a dead show on its own on Fridays. That's just the way it is. No matter if there are good matches on there or not, it's just not a good place to be. And when it comes to attendance, it's you're spending 200,000 times the amount that Ring of Honor did to do 3 times the amount of people in some places, doing 1,800 people, 1,400 people. That's just not the way it should be. That doesn't make any sense, especially when they're selling 150,000 pay-per-views or roundabouts with, hardcore people. There's got to be a way to draw people in, and if they're going to survive as a as a wrestling company, that just doesn't run Daily's Place and some place for pay-per-views, then, you're going to have to figure out what it is. And advertising matches in advance, to me, doesn't hurt.
So then we had SmackDown, which no Roman Reigns, no Rock, only a very short Cody taped promo. 2.3 million viewers on Fox, 0.63 and 18 to 49. So is down, lowest number since March 29th. But they've got the draft on Friday, the draft on Monday, and I expect both of those numbers to be large. More news after the break. Observer Live.
I think sometimes it feels like it's a father-son story. It's just something that, father-daughter, father-son, that a lot of people can see and relate to. But then, if I'm truly being honest, I think it's a story of, as much as I had the legacy and I had the last name, I wasn't born with all the tools. My brother's 6'4". How pissed off I was when I stopped growing. My dad and my sister just had all this charisma, and I think people resonate, that works for them. Like, you can make it to the main event. You can make it to being the main event. I always wanted to be a winning franchise, if that makes any sense. And at my age and where I'm at in my career, I know that's not been the story. But I'm very proud of what the story has become. And you asked, why it resonates. Is the only answer I really know. Because it's real. I wanted to be this because at first he wasn't, and I thought he should have been. And then when he passed away, I failed. I didn't hand it to him. But it became about, I said this earlier, it was in the hype packages and stuff was playing. The story was beyond me at that point, and I still felt the need to finish it. I've been saying all week, I think I said it on First Take too, that even if I didn't believe, people believed. I wanted to share. I came to the back, and Bruce Pritchard and Triple H and Nick Khan handed me this, which is the same watch that my dad had, that he pawned so that I could go to acting school. So the level of investment and responsibility that the company just put in my hands, I hope I can pay it back, pay it forward 100 times over.
Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. You didn't talk about the cuts on Friday, did you?
I'm not sure if we did or not. I don't think we did, actually.
Well, all I know is I was aghast that they cut Sangha.
I know this is hurting you.
What are you thinking?
Well,
and then they cut Sangha. The ones I was shocked by were Sangha, and then Who was the other one?
Veer?
Oh, no. Von Wagner.
Yeah, well,
Shocked
things
about-
were trending that way with him.
They were, but it was because they booked him horribly. It was like,
yeah.
you could not book a guy worse when trying to get him over than Von Wagner.
Well, you know what? They weren't trying to get over Giovanni Vinci, but my God, you give him a new look. He has that good match with, I think it was it Phantasma? I think in Santos Escobar, and they bring him up to the main roster, and he always was the third guy, and things were not looking good after last night for him. But Cameron Grimes today is one.
Well, that's what I'm going to get to. Cameron Grimes,
but man,
he got cut as well, and he had just recently, one of those things where in the old days you knew he was doomed, but you thought nowadays, well, maybe not. It's him and Braun Breaker. He doesn't even get an entrance. He's just standing there in the ring, and then Braun murders him. So, and he got cut as well. Now he surprised me as well because fantastic, absolutely fantastic worker, great babyface. People loved him, and what's weird is. Dave was talking about this last night. So, do you remember, it literally was probably 2 years ago. One day, I was watching SmackDown, and there's Von Wagner backstage. Remember that?
yeah, Zion Quinn, him, yeah, a couple.
Well, Zion Quinn got drafted, and then we, literally never saw him again. That was weird enough. But, no, they had him on TV in, 3 backstage segments, and then we never saw him again, okay?
Yeah.
So, apparently, Zion Quinn and, all of them, really, but Von Wagner and who else was I talking about? It was Von and...
Xia Li, and then...
No, but I think the most surprising ones
Veer
were...
and Sangha.
Well, the two that... Zion and Wagner, okay, were the two that I was referring to that Dave was talking about. They were considered main roster talent. Zion got called up once and was never seen again, but he was considered main roster talent.
Well, he got an ass whipping by Braun Breaker, so he got one going out the door.
They literally put Vaughn on TV 3 times in a backstage segment, and then he just went right back and was a regular on NXT, but he was considered main roster.
Sure.
And so, apparently, the reason he was cut was because he was main roster and they weren't doing anything with him on the...
Well,
I was like, what?
I don't know about that.
Well, okay, what's going on here?
What's
going on here?
I don't think
that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Corey says Zion was sad to see he looked like a star. Yes, bro, I watched a lot of Zion Quinn, and that's what he had was he looked like a star. He wasn't getting in the ring.
No.
He was not improving ever. And, I just don't get it, dude. I don't
Brian,
get any of this.
I get it. I completely get it. And you understand why, too, if you really think about it. From a rational point of view, they have all those guys in the NIL system. They have all these people that they're developing with their own hands. They have people that you can bring in, new people like Julia who are newer to the system. I don't think... in some cases, this is a referendum on the wrestler. It's a matter of, with Cameron Grimes, you know what? We can't see in the immediate future when we're going to be able to shuffle you in the next 6-12 months. Even though you have talent, we have all of these other people. We have all of these other people we're trying to develop. Same thing with Von Wagner. At his size, with his pedigree, being a second-generation wrestler, with the fact that he's got some establishment there. If he leaves and pulls a Drew McIntyre or a Cody Rhodes and does a great job on the indies, becomes a monster, because he is a monster. If he walked into TNA right now, he would be a monster on the roster. And if they're able to do something, maybe he can come back. I don't think in some cases, talented people are going to get cut sometimes just because they get shuffled out of the system. That's why in the territory days, it was great because you could move on to somewhere. It's what Adam Copeland, there's a story on the front page that got posted up today about having more than one flourishing company, a positive for all wrestlers. Yeah, because you need a place for wrestlers to work. Look at Nick Nemeth. Look at Dolph Ziggler. And all those times you could have done X, Y, and Z. You could have did more with him. he's not a shot wrestler. He's able to go into TNA and do things. He's able to go to New Japan, CMLL, and do things. So I hope that's the case for Cameron Grimes. And I think in the case of some people like Xia Li or Zion Quinn, they just, at some point, you got to, like, cut bait with some of these folks because you're just backed up with too many
here's the thing. I mean,
potential.
Listen, I listen. It's the same thing with AEW and WWE, okay? You can't just hire everybody forever.
No.
Okay? So, like, AEW has so many people under contract. And remember we found out that, like, Harlan, what was his name in AEW? Like, he got released a while. It was like, he's been under contract for the last 8 months where he's just been gone. Well, it's like, AEW, I don't like to see anybody fired. But the fact is, if AEW is going to keep hiring people, they got to fire some people. You just have to. I mean, otherwise, you're paying people to do absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And then you want to justify that you're paying this guy so he's on TV, but someone else isn't. It's like,
look,
no, stop. Well, hold on. So then in WWE, it's like they're about to have a draft. They're about to call up some people to the main roster. There's only so many spots, okay? You can say, well, you can make a spot for, 200 people, but you can't, okay? It's going to suck. You got a finite number of spots for such and such number of people, and so people are going to be cut. But my point is, I get it. Veer and Sangha is a heel tag team. It was a gimmick from 1994, okay? But of the two, Sangha, when he had that run in NXT and he was the baby face and he was giving everybody advice and he was a spiritual leader, he was great. He had something. And Cameron Grimes was a fantastic worker, and he connects with the crowds in these matches. He has something. And Von Wagner, I'm actually kind of okay with Von being released because he can go and do some stuff and come back. But, he had something as well. Xia Li really wasn't showing anything. Zion Quinn was showing nothing. Jinder had run his course. It's like, I get some of these, but some of them I don't get.
Well, Veer, they cut him off at the knees. They actually had him play into the fact he was riding around in a Mercedes and he had this, busted down Rolex on and all this stuff. And it was like, okay, this is a new take on an Indian wrestler. And this is a new look and a new way to do things. And then all of a sudden, they flipped him back and they put him and Sangha together. Sangha, who was a good guy, and actually portrayed that role better, but they hook them all together. And then, as you mentioned, it became a gimmick right out of 1994 again. And there are some projects, and that's another thing with this. There are going to be some people that they look at and see and go, we love these guys. There's probably a Cameron Grimes fan, a Trevor Lee fan right now sitting in the Carolinas that is looking at Johnny Gargano going, why do they love him so much? Because they do. They like him to do and portray a certain role. They have projects that they like. They're not going to be able to hit on everybody. And again, the more people getting out there, again, we'll see what happens with TNA because I don't know how well they did. Attendance-wise was rough. Let's see how they do with the pay-per-view and see how much money they continue to throw into things. But, having another place out there for some of these people to work and, again, be bigger fish in smaller ponds is a good thing.
President brought up a great name here, Dexter Loomis. What? I totally forgot about that guy. Where has he been?
I don't know, but he's not going to be answering his phone now that we
vanished
called him
off
out.
The face of the earth is what happened to that guy.
Well, he might show up in a window when you're looking out of it.
Finn Balor has re-signed with WWE, or he has announced that he is going nowhere.
Yeah.
So
that tease there on social media yesterday.
Yeah. We're waiting officially on Drew. I keep hearing officially that Drew has not re-signed, but I mean, come on.
Come on.
Becky just won the title.
Yeah.
I don't think any of these people are going anywhere.
Becky and Seth? Yeah.
Well, Seth just got surgery, so I mean,
he's not signed.
Well, I know, but regardless of when his deal is up, the fact that he just got surgery means it's frozen.
Yes,
so
true.
He's not going anywhere anytime soon.
That great wrestling tradition of that.
Well, it happens in both companies.
I know.
Just the way
you
things
would think,
go.
Maybe if you had an agent that could fight about that. But then again, when you're working for agents, I don't see that system changing at all. It's amazing that we're in this era now where you have all these power brokers who represent other power brokers in all of these industries that affect your lives. And for anybody that ever thought wrestling was going to unionize or change or anything like that, no. You just might get a
think about this, though.
A shot to be in the Naked Gun, and things are going to be good. We're working for you.
But hold on,
kid.
this is not necessarily negative. Like, if I worked for AEW or WWE and I was making $2 million a year, and I was happy as a clam, making all that money, and then I blow out my knee, and they're like, okay, well, you're going to be out 9 months, so we're going to pay you for that 9 months to not wrestle, and add 9 more months making your $1 million, $2 million a year at the end. I'd be like, great!
Yeah.
Can you double the extension there?
They could also FedEx you.
Back in a moment, Observer Live.
I didn't know what it was going to be like, the crowd, for one. I am newly friends with the crowd again, so I was concerned that, some of them didn't forgive me for calling them idiots for so many years. Sometimes you guys were. I'm an idiot too. It's fine. It happens. I wasn't sure how it was going to be because Io is so incredibly talented and it's hard to not cheer for her. She's so amazing, but she's a really bad friend. So I was very excited to hear that everyone still had my back after all these years. I truly think that my journey through the WWE these past 11 years has, we have cemented such a connection, myself and the fans and all of you guys. So coming out, I felt like, oh, finally. I think I did my job these last few years to show how much I care about this and how much I care that you guys care about this, So I felt very, very grateful. And right now I feel crazy. It feels like the weirdest dream. I feel like I just fantasy booked my whole life. Doing this, then watching The Rock and The Undertaker and John Cena, I was like, fantasy booked this whole thing. Personally, I think we just had a weird... that whole experience was very humbling to me. I imagined creating a group. It was going to be so different, and the fans were going to love it, and it was just we were going to be dominating everything. But there was so much more that goes into it behind the scenes, and we had to work on our chemistry, like real life chemistry, as friends, and share our goals with each other, like what we want out of this, so that we can help each other get there. And I think once we started ironing those things out and getting confident in ourselves and trusting each other, we started to feel better. Everybody started being themselves. We weren't trying to be professional. We were like, being able to hang out with your friends and put on the best work we can. Then Io won the title, and I think that was just like, we're on top of the world, There was a second part I was going to say, and I don't remember. But I think Io winning the title was definitely a shift change. Just hearing the reaction when Dakota came in the ring there, I said, they do care about us. They do remember our moments. Yes, it's a long journey. I didn't think we'd be here right now. I know what I was going to say. I talk a lot sometimes. I think I got time. To me, although Damage Control still took a loss last night, them coming out and getting an entrance, they had a little bit to their entrance. Dakota was on last year's, got hurt, still made it to this one. And then they came out tonight. So to me, Damage Control was on 2 nights of WrestleMania, and that's a win to me. Although they both lost.
Live, Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. Well, we had a Raw last night, and did a little over 9,000. The sellout streak ended. Last 2 weeks did not sell out, although they did sell out every single show when they had that European tour. So it's still on fire. But I think the main things to talk about last night are that Becky Lynch is the new women's champion. They had a battle royal. And
take that, Tom Lawler.
Yeah. What's funny is They mentioned a battle royal for the women's title. I was like, oh my God, I hate battle royals for titles.
Me too.
And then at the beginning of the show, they had McAfee and Cole in the ring, and they announced that this was only the 4th time in history that a title had been determined in a battle royal. Now, to be fair,
WWE history.
no, all history.
No, are you kidding me?
They
I can
weren't.
name 4 now.
They weren't counting Royal Rumbles.
Doesn't matter.
So if you go back to 1963, there have only been 4 battle royals for titles, and this was one of them.
Yeah, WWF history. It just seems like a lot more because this
It
horrible
does seem
thing
like a lot more.
has been done. The AWA, Larry Zbyszko won the world title that way. I think this was the way Glow would decide some of their champions as well too. It's just every time it's done, it always feels to me to be really incredibly cheesy. It's not like battle royals are, regaled with any greatness anyway since the 70s and Andre the Giant. It just, to me, unless it's the Royal Rumble, and everybody's got a goofy version of that now too, unless it's the Royal Rumble, I don't have time for battle royals.
Yeah,
No
Royal
way.
Rumble is not a battle royal. It's a Royal Rumble.
It's a Royal Rumble.
Yes. Battle Royal is all the people in the ring, and you throw them over.
A remix.
A Royal
battle
Rumble
royal.
is, whatever.
What'd you ever think about the reverse battle royal?
Are you kidding me? You're just going to pull my string?
Hey, well, to be fair, that's kind of what happens in NXT now. Whenever they have an open challenge, the sheer chaos that takes place where the entirety of the insides of the performance center become the parking lot outside and it's just mass chaos getting to the ring, in some ways, that is a reverse battle royal.
Well, anyway, they had this battle royal, and, women's battle royal for the title. It had no heat early, really. But
Well,
once they got rid of some of the people, it had great heat, actually, at the end. When it came down to, it was Becky and Liv and Nia. And, of course, everybody thought that Liv was going to win because of the whole Rhea Ripley thing. But Rhea is going to be out for a while. And so my guess is what's going on is Becky won here. Her and Liv are going to have a championship match, and Liv is going to beat her in an actual one-on-one pay-per-view match for the title. Because I figure that's where they're going. They got rid of Nia, who nearly killed Becky twice, because they need to never allow her near anybody.
can you imagine a series of Nia Jax against Elektra Lopez matches? Can you imagine that?
No. They're outside, and Nia puts Becky on a table. And then she goes, and instead of doing something now that she's on the table, she decides, well, or Doudrop did this, or Piper Niven. So Piper puts Becky on the table, and then instead of doing something, she goes and grabs Nia, which makes no sense. She drags Nia outside. So they start having a brawl while poor, Becky's laying on the table. And Nia's going to give Piper a choke slam onto Becky on the table. But, it doesn't work at all. She doesn't even make it to the table. She, gets choke slammed, on the edge, which that probably sucked. So then, the fans are angry. So they chant, one more time. So Nia goes to lift her for a Samoan drop, and she cannot lift her up. And she almost collapses. And then she tries again, and she almost collapses.
Well,
And then she finally gets her up on the third try, and she throws her onto Becky, but she throws her onto Becky's legs. And Piper's foot hits Becky right in the face. I was like, can we not kill, anybody, but,
and the
Becky's
table
winning.
didn't break.
And the table didn't break again. And it's like, oh my God, just let it go. Just get in the ring. It's a commercial break. Who cares? Nia, you're a heel. The people can boo you. You don't have to break the table. Just get in the ring. But they had to try it again during the break. And apparently she put Becky through the table during the break. But comes down to Becky and Liv and Nia. And when they, double teamed and eliminated Nia, that did get a big pop. And then Liv and Becky brawl on the apron. And Becky gives her the manhandle slam. Liv falls to the floor. Becky wins.
It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. Liv Morgan now beats the person, coming up here that Rhea Ripley last beat. She should be the number one contender. She is going to be the champion, and she can continue to do dastardly things and continue to try to lay the groundwork of as far as being a heel, because that's the way it's going to be, certainly when Rhea comes back.
So after the show, Becky's in the crowd celebrating, and she just starts signing autographs. And she signed them for 30 minutes after the show went off the air. And they finally had to get everybody out of there. So that was very nice.
Man, very Cody thing to do.
And we also, this opened with one of those uninterrupted shots, which are so awesome that they do nowadays, where they're backstage before the main event. And Jackie is interviewing Indy and Candice. And they start doing their promo. And all of a sudden you hear screaming. And Jackie goes, "Oh, my God, what's going on?" And she takes off. And the camera follows her all the way to a brawl with Nia and Liv. And all these officials, they try to break it up. And then as they're filming this, Becky starts walking by. And she goes up to Jackie and she says, "The man's great at everything. Can I borrow that mic?" And she takes the mic. And now she starts doing Jackie's role. And she just keeps walking. The camera hasn't cut yet, still following her. She walks all the way through the backstage area. She runs into Maxine. She goes, "Maxine, is this your first time challenging for a world title? Here in your 9th match?" Maxine says, "Yes, it is." Becky says, "Go out there. Show them it won't be your last." And Maxine's all fired up. Which, by the way, she then went out there and threw out Candice LeRae, which was supposed to get a big pop, but it's 20 minutes or 20, I think it's, what was it, 2 hours? 2 hours from Candice's house. So she got booed for that. That was funny. But anyway, Becky keeps walking. She goes all the way through the gorilla position. She says, "Get that camera ready. We're going to need some new promo pics." Goes through the curtain, and the camera follows her all the way down to the ring. These shots are so awesome because they're live. There's multiple people and storylines and angles involved. And,
Nice.
There's no margin for error.
No.
One of these days, something's going to go wrong, and it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's the evolution of pro wrestling production, right in front of your eyes, as we saw in the 90s with the, things we were used to on MTV and that sort of thing, those jump cuts, all that stuff coming into ECW and into the WWF and all that stuff. And, I mean, realistically, since the Attitude Era, there has not been much change. And all of the changes they've made, the thing is, Brian, they've been seamless into the product, I think. Even though they stand out and you recognize the show is a little bit different, it's not overly jarring, I think. And they've done, to me, an incredible job.
Also had a show-long storyline with the Judgment Day. So Rhea is gone because she's rehabbing. And without her, the Judgment Day is going all to hell. They are just having one problem after another. And Dom is actually legitimately injured. He had his arm in a sling. I'm not sure exactly what the injury is, but he's hurt. Rhea's hurt. Priest is trying to take over the group, but he's being a jerk about it. And JD and Dom, they're frustrated with this guy, and it's just one issue after another. So it's splintering until Rhea makes her return.
I hope it doesn't shoot off too many splinters into my eyes here. This is not the best jump off for Damian Priest as far as being the new WWE champion, or whatever you call his side of the ledger there. So I hope they actually figure out something. I don't know if it's, again, I don't know what they're going to do, but this Jey Uso feud does not feel like it would have felt at the beginning of January when both of these guys were a lot hotter.
We had the destruction of Imperium. Man, oh man. Gunther returned, did his promo. He wants to win the King of the Ring. And then they had Imperium versus New Day, which is funny because New Day was begging to not have to do this match because they had about 50 matches about a year ago. But they do it anyway. And New Day wins, and Gunther is infuriated because old Vinci did the job. And he just leaves in disgust. And Kaiser goes over and he helps his old friend up, hugs him, kisses him on the head, helps him out of the ring. and throws him into the boards and beats his ass all over. And he puts him on the steps. All of the officials come down to try to break it up, but he makes a break for it, goes running around the ring, does the giant running drop kick, shotgun drop kick to the head of...
Why was he still laying there like that? What are they doing?
Well, they were busy trying to get the other guy out of there, not help the guy who's hurt, because they're incompetent.
No.
And so that is the end of Vinci. I don't think he's been released, but, I mean, you watched it and you think, this guy's going to be released
Can
today.
he at least go back down to NXT? Help the homie out here.
I don't know. Not looking good.
Oh, man.
And then we had a segment where, this was totally weird. Drew comes out, and Drew's like, I'd complain all night, he says, but I won't. And then he starts just complaining about everything that's happened to him.
Just stealing your gimmick.
And Sheamus comes out, and, they're frenemies is what they are. And he basically just says, I'm here to give you the, brutal, honest truth. You are obsessed with Punk. You should have just left, but you couldn't. And because of your obsession, a one-armed CM Punk beat your ass. And Drew is furious.
He turned into Scott Steiner.
And Drew says, you want to talk about brutal honesty? Fine. Before you got hurt, he says, banger after banger after banger. But ever since you got hurt, it's just been burger after burger after burger. Because some fans were making fun of Sheamus online last week for coming back heavy.
Pillsbury Throwboy.
And Sheamus just kind of blows us off. And he says, Drew, I can lose the weight, but you can't lose the stupid. And now Drew's really mad. And Drew says, everybody backstage was making fun of you for being fat last week. And Sheamus says, I don't care. And Drew goes, I care because I'm your friend. I'm going to watch the match tonight, and I'm going to watch your back. And so I'm like, okay, that was a long segment. We're doing something with Drew and Sheamus. Well, let's get to it. So Drew goes to watch the match. It's Sheamus and Shinsuke Nakamura. Drew's watching his back the entire time. And Sheamus bro kicks him and wins. And then he gets on the middle rope and he flexes. And that was it.
Well,
like, what? All that for that? Like, I mean, I understand, like, building stuff up for the future, but, I mean, I waited a long time for nothing. Anyway, back in a moment, Observer Live.
Where we're going, where we're headed, I have no idea. This new era in the company, I mean, everybody can feel it. Everybody can sense it. We're on a roller coaster, man. We don't know where we're headed. But this ride, it's going to take a minute. Like, we're cooking right now. Obviously, all our sellouts, the business that we're doing, the amount of eyeballs that are in the company. I mean, this is the hottest the business has ever been. Everybody obviously likes to compare us to the Attitude Era. Man, we're doing some things the Attitude Era would have dreamed of. And I'm proud to be one of the figureheads right now. With this, I solidify myself as one of the people that we're going to be looking at as to lead. And that's something that I'm humbled and proud of. So how do I keep myself here? The same thing I've been doing, just be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. Last year, I believe I was number 3 in most overall matches. If I'm not mistaken, I was number 1 in TV matches. I want to double. I'll double the amount of matches if I could. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't. The idea of this being the workhorse championship, bring it. That's what I want to do. I want it all. Obviously we know our champions' schedules change. When you're the guy, or one of the guys, or one of the girls, like, a lot is asked of you. Give me the questions. I would love to give the answers. So, Seth set a precedent with this title, and it'd be disrespectful not to honor what he's done. And I'm one of the first guys to say thank you to what he did, when he brought another championship to a level that was important to the entire roster. and I plan to do it justice.
Back in the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com.
These people in the chat slandering Drew McIntyre. What's that about?
What do you mean slandering him? What are they saying?
Michael Booble.
What'd they say?
Mean things about him.
Like what?
He's maybe retaining a little bit of water for some reasons or something. Kind of looks a little swollen there. Chubby cheeks. Things like that.
What's
up with that, guys?
Hey, listen, Brandon here notes, did you see the short moment where Dominic and Liv went face-to-face? She said she was going to take everything from Rhea.
Ooh. Nice way to transition him out of there. I like it. I'd be completely fine with that. Extra heat on her trying to be a heel? Perfect.
How about that?
I like it.
Also, had another thing that was sent on Twitter, but I got to check it out before I want to talk too much about it. But this from The Hill. I'll have to read the whole article later, but I'll read the beginning. FTC voted 3-2 Tuesday to ban non-compete agreements that prevent tens of millions of employees from working for competitors or starting a competing business after they leave the job. The final rule would ban new non-compete agreements for all workers, require companies to let current and past employees know they won't enforce them. Companies will also have to throw out existing non-compete agreements for most employees.
I like it.
Although in a change from the original proposal, the agreements may remain in effect for senior executives.
Yeah, well, there's sensitive things and intellectual private things like that I can understand why there might be some delay, but I don't like no competes in almost anything. Let it go.
Well, we'll talk more about this tomorrow and everything else. Tonight, it is the Brian and Vinny show with Granny, Craig, and Sean. WWF Challenge. Right? Challenge? Season 1?
Challenge, yes.
Episode 9? Yeah. Somehow I remember that, but not the name of the show. And we'll discuss that. It'll be a lot of fun. And that's it, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Wrestling Observer Live.